Crystal Joy.
I'm David Razio.
And this is I'm Psychic.
I guess.
Because we're trying to be psychic because the internet said we could.
How are we doing that?
We're trying our best. Is how we're doing. The premise of this podcast is the internet says anybody can be a psychic, and through conversation, experimentation, seeking of evidence, we see if that's true or not, and then report back to you guys and let you know what we find that's valuable, not full of shit, whether it is in fact psychic or just a fun psychological helpful thing. We let you know how that goes.
This is a journey. We might get things wrong, so please bear with us as we do trials and tribulations through this quite daunting, quite frankly, task of trying to be psychic.
Mm-hmm. If we have something problematic or learn some misinformation or whatever, do feel free to let us know, and we will look it up ourselves and adjust because our hearts are in a place of learning and growth. We don't know what we're doing, guys. So we're trying our best. Any interesting catch-ups?
No, but I have been actively trying to meditate more. So I have been doing that, just kind of being more here, more present, more aware of my surroundings. I don't know if it's been doing anything much, but it has helped my anxiety. So I'll say that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be in a state of receiving if psychic ability is real, it is in a state of receiving external information. You can't particularly do that if your insides are all mucked up.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
So I really, it's hard to get it in during
But that's better
work.
than the last 6 episodes.
That's true.
Which is nothing.
Which is nothing.
Good job.
Doing something. What have you guys been doing? Probably a lot more than me.
Yeah, we want to know what's going on with you guys if you're following along.
What about you?
For me, I have quite a few interesting things because it's been a few weeks since we recorded because, again, life be crazy. But I don't want to go off about all those things. I will touch on a handful of things. We might start doing like a dedicated catch-up episode just because we are still actively pursuing our psychic ability development.
But until then, we're playing catch-up, catching you guys up to where we are now.
Yeah, which there's some information there. So I will still do a quick catch-up right now, but I think we might in the future start saving like a dedicated catch-up episode for stuff that we've learned.
That makes sense.
One, I got a mentor. Thank you. I got a psychic mentor. I'm really excited about it. I don't have any money, so I'm not paying for it. And I don't know, maybe I'll make like a TikTok or short handheld video about how I did that. And I don't want to say who it is just because I don't know if they want me advertising that I'm doing a free mentorship with them.
It's not free.
I mean, I'm doing a work exchange. So I'm doing an exchange of like work for them, and then they're helping me out with my psychic development. So that it's still really exciting. I'm still processing what they told me and the stuff that I learned at the first. But we'll go into the cool stuff that I learned and then more specifics about that another time. Today we're talking about the rest of the protections.
Yes.
And I know we didn't get into like practical stuff, which is probably what people wanted last time.
Right. But we're going to get into it today.
Hopefully. So last time we left off, I was talking about physical actions supporting energetic choices and protections and how those two things go into each other. Now, something that I didn't get to talk about, which is where that was leading, is your physical actions also are your general choices energetically as well, like where your thoughts go. What would your thoughts have to do with protections?
If you believe that they're working, then they will work. If you don't believe they don't work, then they won't work.
Yes, actually, that's definitely something that I have written down that we're going to get to. But specifically on the tail end of what we were talking about last week was that where your mind goes, your energy goes, right? Mm-hmm. So if you were thinking about something, that's where your energy is going to. Again, as always, we always talk about as though these things were real. If that is the case, if this was real, that would be the case.
Well, I think that I've seen a bit of evidence that is kind of how it works. Even in not protections magically, right? If I'm going to perform something and I think to myself, I'm going to go on stage, I'm going to sing something and it's going to be bad, the higher chances of it being bad because I'm psyching myself out. That's what people call it, psyching yourself out, right? It's the same principles.
Yeah.
So.
You're right.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
It's the exact same thing. I just always want to make sure I say it at least once per episode because I'd be talking like, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. So like where your mind goes, your energy goes. And if we're talking about clearing your energy and shielding your space and protecting your energy and blah, 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 the first thing that you would want to do is energetically secure that. But if your mind is going to the thing that you're trying to keep out, You're basically just doing that door that we were talking about at the end of last episode.
Inviting it in, sort of.
Letting it back in. So whether that's taking an action, like looking at their Instagram, that was like the end of the thought that I was doing last week, is, are you thinking about them? You are letting that in.
So essentially, once you're doing this protection, you want to forget about it. Or maybe not the protection, but the object you're protecting yourself from.
You don't need to worry about that thing anymore, yeah.
Otherwise, you're leaving an energetic connection to it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Same thing with the previous evidence that I just said.
Like you're creating this connection to something that would...
Okay, well, how would you stop yourself from thinking about it, though? If you're like...
It's like, don't think about it. It makes you want to think about it.
Yeah. If I'm like, don't think about the horse. You're like, what horse?
Horses. Yeah, I know. I understand. Honestly, to me, it's just like a deep knowing that what you did was effective. Also, it's not particularly easy. Like, there are people in my life that, like, I don't want anything to do with, but energetically, I pick up on it all the time because I'm on their mind.
Sure.
And I can clear, and I will successfully do it. But the moment something reminds me of the reason why I don't want to be involved with them, I go there. I think that. And then those feelings get more and more frequent.
I see.
Because I've allowed the connection. And so it's not a particularly easy thing. It's just, I think going to therapy is a great one. Go to therapy. That. Start working through why about that. What about that person? What about this situation? What about that thing makes you start thinking about that? And simultaneously, on the other end of that, it would be knowing that what you've done was effective.
Right.
Self-confidence in that, which also could therapy.
Again, what if instead of I'm not thinking about them because I'm forcing myself not to think about them, which is making me think about them kind of subject, we're saying every thought that I do have about them is more like I'm confident that my protection is working.
I'm grateful that happened.
Or I am grateful that
I'm taken care of, that I'm good.
Yeah, so it's like a reassurance thought of them. So that you're not tabooing yourself from thinking a certain thought. Because we all know
we never want to do
humans that does not work.
No, that was actually something very interesting that I learned recently through the internet, is the idea of if I don't think that something affects me, then it doesn't. Which would it brings up the idea of like, I love fucking Ghost Files.
Oh yeah, I know Ghost Files.
Part of the reason I love that show so much is that Shane is such an overwhelming skeptic in every possible way. And he's having none of it the entire time. And that belief of this doesn't affect me, this is nonsense, actually makes like hardly any evidence ever comes up when Shane's doing stuff.
Right.
Which I find very interesting.
So
that would almost back up that thought.
So if someone was to try to curse you, per se, text you or try to get a psychic link with you and try to read what's going to happen to you or something like that, and you don't believe it, doesn't work.
To a point. As far as like workings against you or hexes or curses or like trying to connect to a spirit of some kind, like Shane walking around in Ghost Files not having any evidence hardly ever. Yes, but simultaneously, if you think about a person, you're connecting to their energy.
Right.
Whether they think that that's a thing or not.
Right, that's true.
One of the people that I follow on TikTok, they asked, like, can I block you out from ever reading my energy? They're like, well, ethically, I would never read you unless you asked me to.
Right.
But if I want, like, when I was growing up and when I was developing, when I wanted to, I could. And there was almost nothing anybody could do about it.
Right. Even you didn't want to. You could. You just do it.
You just do it. Yeah. So in that regard, there are a certain, like, level of interplay. And I personally think that has to do with, like, the subatomic particular exchange that we talked about that one episode. I feel like
that makes sense. It's not necessarily that it doesn't work. It's more the type of energy that you're putting towards it.
Yeah, probably.
That's what it sounds like.
That's what makes more sense. I'm also figuring this out with the class. So.
No, that's what it sounds like to me, because if energy is always happening and you're always interacting with it, right? If that's the case, then it's like not whether it doesn't work because you're not. I mean, yes, it doesn't work because you're putting that energy to block it by not believing in it. That's the type of energy you're putting towards it, which is, in essence, a barrier. In essence, yeah. In essence, you are subconsciously doing a protection thing that you don't think you can do. Yeah.
That's trippy.
Anyway.
That's a thought. I have no idea if that's how it actually works or why these things actually work. But I do know in some certain capacity that we can observe that if you don't think that's a thing, then that's not going to particularly happen.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it in terms of energy. If energy is always happening and there is this interaction, that makes sense as to why it wouldn't work if they didn't believe it.
That would make sense. But that also goes into like that same person was talking about how you can't curse or hex me or whatever just because it's not like you can't. It's just like it won't do anything just because I'm not allowing that energy to be in my space. So that's just simply not going to happen.
If your paradigm is something like, I don't know, we'll go into just stubborn, right? Just a stubborn thought process, and this is something that you're stubborn about. What can change your mind? It's going to be hard to change your mind. Energetically, it's a great barrier.
It's true. That's an interesting thought to get started on. But simultaneously, energy shit and psychic stuff is almost just spicy science and spicy psychology.
True.
It really is.
They're doing studies about it all the time now.
Yeah.
More studies are being done.
People are investigating it more.
That
with funding.
Maybe at some point it won't be a pseudoscience, more of a science.
Genuinely, I think the metaphysical or mysticism is simply just that science hasn't particularly developed the tools or jargon to put name to or measure yet. That's just my personal opinion. Which also then goes into fear in lenses. That's actually a great transition to what I wanted to talk about. We were talking earlier about buying into a belief and all of this stuff. How do beliefs tie into fears, and what does that have to do with protections?
Well, if we're talking about beliefs being a solid barrier for protections, I would say something if that is a lens that you're looking at it at. That would be a type of lens. You see something.
Fear is the lens?
Well, the disbelief is the lens you're looking at, right? Okay. So that's a type of protection because you don't believe it. Now, if you do believe it and you fear it, right? That's a negative.
Fear in and of itself is it's just
it's
a
type
very
of energy.
Strong belief.
Yeah, it's a very, very strong belief. One that you feel has power over you.
And could cause harm to you.
Yes. And so essentially what you're doing is the very most opposite of protection, which is not only can you get to me, you will have power over me.
You might hurt me.
And you will harm me, which is where the fear comes in, right? Because if you can't harm me, then there's no fear to be had.
That's very true.
So it's like a vacuum. Now I'm like super getting whatever that is, energy around me.
Fear in and of itself is a filter.
Right.
Right. And I think filters have a lot to do. You're still like, guys, this isn't protections. It is. Like your understanding of your own psyche and your own belief system and your own energy and where that goes and why it goes there. It's a huge part of how effective your protections are.
It goes into protections as well because you can see how your state of mind, your lens that you're looking at it, whatever it is that you're trying to do your protections towards very much affects your protections in the sense of it being effective versus not effective at all, which is essentially what you just said. So,
what are you doing protections for? Basically, that's a great question. Are you afraid of? Basically, what are you protecting yourself against?
That's actually a really good segue question. Like, if you feel like you need to protect yourself, does that mean you're afraid of it, which means your protections aren't there already? And actually, if you're afraid and you want protections help you feel better, which counteracts the fear.
Which could counteract the fear.
Yeah.
Right? So it's this weird little dance that starts to happen where it's like, well, I don't need them if I'm not afraid. But then also, I'm not afraid of somebody getting into my space, but also I don't want somebody getting into my space.
Sure.
You remember The Magicians? In The Magicians, in the first few episodes, not a spoiler, Penny is a psychic.
Yes.
And he hates Quentin so much because Quentin can't manage his own goddamn energy, and Quentin's just like screaming awful misery into his mind all the time, and he's like, "Shut the fuck up!"
Right. he doesn't have his walls. His
he's not managing his space.
Yeah.
So if Penny wanted to at any point, he probably could tune into somebody, but also everybody kind of has their. It's like magical etiquette in that show that everybody has their stuff on lock. But Quentin doesn't, so it's kind of everywhere, and it makes it almost impossible to not pick up on. So it's like, are you doing...
You know what's interesting, too,
what?
About that? Is that I feel like Quentin doesn't have his shields up because he wants people to fix him.
Ooh, that's some character. We're getting into some fictional character psyche stuff. But yeah, if you haven't seen The Magicians, amazing show. Up until the last season and the last episode of the season before that. I have opinions. We won't talk about that. It's not a media show, but they take a obviously super media based fantastical approach to things, but the concepts behind them are something to be to be chewed on. And that's so true. How many of us keep our energetic walls down in hopes that somebody will notice and pay attention and help, which is actually only making it more difficult for everybody around us and also more difficult for us to actually fully heal.
Exactly.
Ooh, dropped some fucking thoughts. We're just going to do some snaps for that one because that was a good one, David.
I try.
One, you don't need to be afraid of anything. In general, I think we have a whole episode that we could probably do about fear specifically in this industry and in this type of work.
Sure.
And the harm that it does, but it's specifically to keep it as far as protections go and lenses. And that goes into, is this real? Is this not real? Like we were talking about, well, if I don't think this is real, then that's the best protection that you can ever have because of the filter, right? We talked about filters once or twice on this show, but what do you know about filters and how they affect your protections? Because you've already talked about them a little bit.
Yeah, it just seems like based off of how you look at the world,
Your paradigm,
which can change by day or minute, it is going to affect a lot of things, from protections to
how you move in the world.
How you move, yeah, your actions and stuff.
What's interesting is the more that I start drifting and diving into this whole world of energies and metaphysicals and occult and blah, 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 is that your fear actually has a noticeable effect on how energies engage with you. So we hear a lot about high vibes and low vibes on the internet, like good vibes only, blah, 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 blah. Again, God, I say it every episode. I like to just make a list of episodes, every episode. That's its own episode. But that in and of itself is almost impossible, because what is a low vibe to you in your filter is actually something that is of a higher vibe for somebody else. I'm actually kind of unwinding this in my brain as I'm saying this to you, because we had a conversation, you and I, about the difference between high vibe and low vibe and how, like, is there really ever a low vibe? Because like there is, but also it's helpful and it's human. So remember that conversation?
Yeah, I remember that conversation.
And we were trying to be like, well, isn't it like a circle then rather than a line?
And I said kind of, right?
Because for those who are listening, I have a point and I'm not going to forget my point. Me and David had a conversation once about, like, in a book we were reading, it was like the level of emotions and like the frequency that they vibrate at is like low is like slow and miserable and sad and angry, and the highest was like peace and love. And it was this bar. And I have a personal opinion that I expressed last time is everything is magical. Magical itself is not non-magical, high magical on a bar. It's a circle. To the point that the farther you go along doing magical things, the more you start to realize that everything is magical and it becomes a circle. And I was talking to David, couldn't that be how emotions are? Because yes, lower emotions vibrate at a lower frequency, but in and of itself, at the place that you're at, you could address that emotion from a higher understanding of life. Thereby, it's not as negatively affected.
No, it becomes useful.
Right. So remember that conversation?
Yes.
Okay. I literally right now just had a thing where I was like, okay, well, if the filters that you have affect how you see things, that means it affects how you experience your emotions, because your emotions are nothing but the response to the stimulus of the world around you.
Yes. I see what you're saying. The lens of which you look at how these vibrations are working depends on whether it's a technical low vibe versus a high vibe.
So if somebody is in a really low or dark place and they see something like Euphoria, which is like this hot button, I've never seen that show, but I know it's like, low vibes, don't watch Euphoria, it's all about drugs and sex and teenage sadness. That could actually be deeply helpful for somebody who is overcoming an addiction or somebody who did go through something similar.
If they're looking at it through the right lens. If they're looking at it
through the right lens.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas that same show could bring somebody crashing down into a very bad place if that is not helpful for the lens that they're reviewing their paradigm through.
It's true. Yes.
So there are no high vibes and low vibes. It's almost like dimensions of filters. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, but I'm saying, well, I agree with you. And I think that is a mastery thing, though.
What do you mean?
I think that's a mastery thing because you have to be able to keep that lens. What happens when your emotions become extreme in a negative way?
Okay.
Your lens changes.
Yes.
So your emotions affect your lens.
Yes, they do.
And that's why I said it requires a mastery. to keep your lens while you have it in a high place, to see a lower negative emotion, a lower vibe emotion, and be positive with it and know that it's part of life.
I don't like the word positive, but I know what you're meaning.
You get what I'm saying. Like,
to have a healthy approach to it.
Yes, to have it become a circle, as we're describing
yeah.
That lens has to be a solid foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
A knowing, which gets into what we were talking about before. Keep your
Correct.
thoughts.
So you just have this separate process of what you think and how you're viewing something, and then your emotions towards it. And that's why I said it becomes a mastery thing. The average person, I feel, maybe, not to speak for everybody on the fucking earth, but like, this is not something I've researched. They don't have that mastery. Mm-hmm. And so their emotions then change their lens, which is where this low vibe, high vibe idea can kind of come from. Basically, someone who's in a very good mood, their lens is, everything is working out for me, everything is amazing, meets someone who's very sad and they're draining. That person is trying to get comfort from this person who is such in a good place. Their vibe is fucked up and they are dragged down to this place. Starts with a lens change. Then they start viewing things differently. Which starts... And then maybe they're annoyed by this person not in a good mood. Their lens changed from everything works out to me to I'm annoyed to sad.
To now I have to deal with this.
To not to deal with this. And it just goes down. And
I can't avoid this. This always happens to me.
Correct. And that's where the
lens.
Vibe thing is happening.
Yeah, it's actually not the vibration of the emotion. It is the lens in which you are experiencing it. Right. And the default setting seems to be emotion change, lens change. Right. Where you can train yourself through understanding and knowledge. God, I have so much to say about that one sentence that I just said. But we won't get into that right now. I'm going to make notes later for myself that you can start having this emotional dip, and the lens itself is neutral, actually. The lens does not need to be impacted by the emotion. Right. Which is what a lot of people start learning in therapy. You can feel your emotions and not let your mind wander and run off into a million different directions. Right. Because too many people intellectualize your feelings, which is thought, so thoughts start changing the lens. Right. That's so interesting. And that has to do with protections because if you viewing your protections through a certain lens, that again affects its effectiveness. Its efficacy. So what is the best lens to approach protections then, if we're going to do them effectively? Obviously, if we're asking about protections, that means in some form we believe in them, right? We believe in the need for them, and there's something that we feel we need to protect against. What is the lens then? The best healthy lens is confidence. The unhealthy lens is unbelief. Yeah. That's the best protections you have. At least that I can think of right now. But I feel like unbelief, it starts to put there's a knowing, right? Because Kimo the Lightseer on TikTok is like, I don't believe that anybody can hex me. Or I just don't abide by that. But he also knows that people do that. And it does work. Sure. Right? So it's like this, I do know that is there, but also I prefer to not subscribe to it affecting me. That's both unbelief and confidence. A double whammy. That's the magical approach. Is I know that this is a thing, but I decide to not abide by it. Yeah. So as far as protections go. Yeah. What's the overall like? Now we're getting into more. I did not make notes for this. Okay. So it's gonna be like free balling it. Yeah. As far as protections and why you would need them. Despite all of these things, it depends on where you're at in life, what lens you're viewing things in. Though I would always say no matter what, fear is not helpful. Sure. There's no need to fear anything. So then why would you need protections? To manage your own energetic fear space. When it comes to protections is not. Fear in general is not necessary as far as energetic work is concerned. Well, fear will tell you if something is dangerous, right? Yes, but fear is also skewed by your lens because fear in of itself is a lens. True. So our monkey mind is taking tangible 3D reality and applying it to something that has not been studied or discovered or known yet, and saying that is unknown, thereby it is scary, because that is the safer to the monkey mind, right, to the hippocampus. And so if that is the safer mode, then I'm going to start doing that, which energetically would actually shift how the energy shows up for you. Yes. So fear is never needed as far as energetic work with psychic ability, spirits, magic, occult, anything, energy work. Fear is not needed because if you are fearing, then it will actually alter negatively the way that it shows up for you.
And it goes against what you want actively. Mm-hmm. No, yeah. That I agree with.
Yeah.
I meant like just fear in general.
I mean,
it's
like,
not,
go outside and be afraid of the lion. Yeah, it's okay. I'm like, that goes into what we were talking about last time, where it's like, wear a fucking mask. Like, we live in a 3D reality. It's the balance that I talked about last episode. Both are needed, right? So you can have a healthy fear for the serial killer, for like the cancer, for these things, right? But you don't need to be ruled by them. But unilaterally, energetic protections are not needed against evil spirits. That's not a thing. Against all of these hexes or whatever. Which, again, if you really genuinely believe that, oh, I've done it, so it can be done to me. Cool, bitch, go do your protections. That's totally fucking fine, and it'll work immaculately because that's what you believe. It's just an acknowledgement of that. If you can get into that space of, that's not going to affect me, so it's fine. It's a mastery of your own psyche.
Again, this is super mastery because I believe that there are evil spirits and dumb bitches be picking me up.
You do?
Yes, I do.
I'm more open-minded.
Now?
I'm more open. I mean, yes, but I don't want to say like right now I believe that there are evil spirits. I believe that they exist on a scale because of the things that I've seen so far, and because of the experiences of others that I respect. I am open-minded. I could be wrong. That
if you change the lens in which you look at it, and
if you change the lens in which you look at the spirit itself will alter.
Yes. Well, and this is why I said this is a mastery thing, because I am unable to change that lens as of right now. So because of that,
it's scary.
It's scary.
But if it's scary, does that mean it's innately evil?
No, but
if something is scary to you, does that make it evil?
When
both
it becomes
on an energetic level and on a real life level.
But when it becomes a spirit thing, and this is from my experience, so I do believe this. If you guys don't believe it, that's your opinion. That's fine. I'm just saying what has happened to me.
Yeah.
If I am viewing it in a fearful lens, then it can harm me, based off of this understanding.
Interesting.
And so, my past experiences, having viewed these things
and having been
in fear,
harmed,
and I have been harmed. So that and then we go into like the human experience of something has happened to me before, so it's going to happen again.
Oh,
patterns.
Yeah. Pattern recognition.
Your mind's going to be like, okay, so we don't believe in this anymore. It's not going to hurt us. However, it did hurt us once, so maybe just a little bit.
The crack of the door comes
and
back.
I'm just like, I'm just gonna be safe and not. All right, so that's where that's
interesting.
Comes in. Yeah,
I'm curious to see how that evolves for you as we start.
As mastery begins to happen.
And thankfully, my mentor, who is lovely, also was like, "Yeah, when your husband can come, bring him in. Like, let's figure this out." So hopefully, David will also have a little bit of aid in that regard.
And then next step, Dragon Ball Z on the mountain. I'll see you there.
Okay, so with that being said, I myself do have protections. I won't tell you what they are.
Why do you have protections?
For a number of reasons. I think it's helpful to have for me because we just talked about if it's happened before, then it'll happen again. With rewiring your brain, Hi, it's time in the episode where I say that I'm a deconstructed Christian. So I spent when did I start deconstructing? Like 25, maybe properly 24 years of my life, 25 years of my life was through this lens. Like literally my brain finished forming and I still thought that this was the case, right? It's hard to undo that. So if we talk about things in a way that, well, if you believe it, then that's the case. Well, I'm like almost abiding by that, which would inevitably cancel it out then.
Fair.
So I have these things in place, a number of them, all through my house, that are energetic and also physical, that bring me a sense of peace and calm, and which inevitably would bring you as within, so without, right? So if you feel that you are protected in peace and calm, then you are protected and you are peace and calm, which means your exterior would reflect your interior, not the other way around. So we're going to go through a few tangible things that we could talk about because I don't want to carry over protections into another episode.
No, I would like to finish it. That was my goal. To finish
me too. So what do you think, actually? Ball in your court. physical, tangible protections that anybody could do.
Like these bracelets.
Okay.
An object in which you believe blocks, because it's all about your belief, right? Blocks
To a point, yeah.
your energy from intertwining with another's, or blocks outside energy from intertwining with yours. The shield that we do with the cleansing, one of those, that's a little harder to maintain because you got to think about it all the time until it becomes second nature, which is not for me yet. And that's about all I got right now.
Okay, so I was thinking a little bit more on the magical spectrum. Like I said last episode, like putting eggshell dust around your house.
I don't really know much of those.
No, it's okay. You haven't really divin into those kinds of things.
It's good. Obviously, it's divin.
Oh, obviously it's divin.
I've divin into this.
I don't care if that's the answer. That's what it is now.
I love that.
Put it in my dictionary. I mentioned a few really good ones last episode. Yeah. One of my favorites is like plants. So if we talked about energy last time or a few times ago, it has the same its own flavor, right? Take a plant that has a almost universally understood flavor of protection, quote unquote, and you can either decide, hey, this is a protective thing, or something that Easter just passed as of recording this, and something that I want to start doing, something that marries my old beliefs to my new beliefs, is taking the eggs, coloring eggs, and making like protective sigils or something on them, and then burying them and making a new protective plant. And so the egg breaks down and it like gives the energy to the plant.
No, I love that. It's just like, Ethan!
It's devil work! Painting the eggs don't go in the plants.
They go in baskets with rabbits, motherfucker. I'll fucking dare you.
Which has nothing to do with Jesus. So, as far as other tangible protections, I like just sigils.
Sigils, but I don't know much about sigils.
They're not hard. That we can do, if people care, we can do an episode. That's not psychic at all. That's more so just like an interesting energy thing.
That's occult stuff.
That's occult, yeah, in nature. But this is everything. This is podcasts try to be psychic, but this is also just how it affects our lives and our livelihood and understanding of ourselves. And sigils are something that we're talking about value, what we found that tried and worked. I think sigils worked great.
Yeah. I mean, and for all future episodes, we talk about all these things. We believe them. And so they work. If you got anything out of that, it's what you believe works. So
basically, even if it's not on like what's happening? I don't think you need to know what exactly is happening. Just know that it is.
Within reason, you can't believe you fly and you just jump off a roof and fly.
Yeah, we're
We're not saying that. You fucking fuckers who are going to say that shit. Fuck you. Because I know that's what they're going to fucking say.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with that. This is more so spicy psychology.
Yeah, but it's all within...
Like, it doesn't matter if, like, there's some dimension that we can't see that people are doing this and it looks like that and it acts like that. I don't give a fuck. Maybe that's the case, or maybe it's just spicy psychology and ego. All I know is that the results are the results are the results, and it fucking works. Like, it's worked.
Yeah, I won't cut you off. That's for another episode. I just want to say this before I forget it.
Okay.
When you're talking about what you believe, it has to be in that spiritual realm. It's not going to be a physical thing.
Maybe that's what we can talk about next episode. How it affects you. Belief and how it affects you. If you believe that it affects you in this way, then it does. If you believe that it does not, then it does not. Your belief as far as the logistics mean nothing. I believe that these are the logistics. I don't give a shit. That just isn't how it works. Or it could be, but it also couldn't be. You don't know that, and your belief doesn't impact the logistics. The belief impacts how it affects you.
That's a conversation for sure.
Maybe next episode. Protections, though. A few more tangible protections that we can talk about. Fucking the internet on TikTok, they love little spell jars. I think there's so many more effective and interesting ways to do that. Planting something, setting stuff on fire, putting stuff in water, like putting something in cement and putting a sigil on it. Like, it just depends on the goals. It depends on what you want to do.
Depends on the element.
It depends on the nature of the request and what you're worried about, you know, or what you want to prevent from happening.
You do a river.
A river?
Yeah.
What about a river?
The energy that flows from the river.
Keeping things away. Oh, that is something that I do know that people do. Cleaning your house with river water, specifically.
Since it runs away.
From the back of the house to the front door.
That's the kind of idea you're kind of thinking of when you're thinking about these things.
I don't do this, but in the South, in certain parts of the South, they see those trees that have like bottles on them. So like there are these like fake trees that have like the branches are a bunch of colored bottles. That's a protection that it catches the spirits, so it can't come in. There's a lot, and I don't want to tell you what mine are. Because I don't want to get into logistics, and I have a belief that if you know them, then
they're not as strong.
They're not as strong.
So therefore, they will
not be told to you. But those are this basics that are like a great place to start if that's what you're interested in. So yeah, we've covered energetic stuff with the first time we talked about it. We've covered the logistics that don't leave cracks in the doors, and we've talked about a few things that you can tangibly do, tangible things that support your energetic well-being, whether that's actually wearing a mask so you don't get sick, or it's putting an egg in a plant,
or at least the very that river analogy of the very thought process of what if you're looking for a protection, of how to think about what the protection should be.
Things. Yeah, good thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, we have not done an
taught you how to fish.
Taught you how to fish, baby. We have not done an intuition test in a really long time.
Do you want to do one?
Quick.
Okay, fine.
What's the quickest of quick that we can do?
I am thinking of either right or left, and you close your eyes. I tell them. You see what it is.
Okay.
Okay, your eyes closed.
Yep, they are closed. I'm actually looking away.
I'm actually going to take
your bracelets off. So
my bracelets off.
Smart.
So you cannot hear. No. And my watch as well, just in case, even though that makes no sound. Okay. Can't hear, right? Nothing. Okay.
Okay, so you picked either right or left?
Uh-huh. You gonna keep your eyes closed?
I'm thinking. I'm just kind of focusing my energy.
You don't have to. Actually, I'm gonna put them on my lap.
Okay.
There you go.
Your right one?
Yes. You had a 50-50. You had a 50-50, so we'll do one more.
Okay.
I mean, you still have 50-50, but...
I did the thing that I did last time where it was was left. And then I was like, oh, it's the quiet one. I said it was right, and I was right.
Perhaps I should have did hands and feet. Just like...
No. It's okay. One more time.
All right. Oh, my bad.
Do it again.
Yep.
You did now?
Yes.
Your left one?
No. Almost.
You were thinking different stuff.
I did. I thought
left. I knew you were. So, okay, in my mind, this is what happened. You did this. You were like, okay. And it was the right one. I knew it was the right one again. I just knew that that's what it was. Because it said left again and it was quiet. And also there was just more of a clear cognizance. Like, I knew it. Like, I knew it.
I also chose the left one first. And then I was like, no, I'm going to choose the right one.
Fuck that. You can't do that.
I can't?
No.
Why?
Because it fucks up the energy. Like, okay.
There's rules? I didn't know this.
Okay. So, basically, when you make multiple choices, especially when I'm tuning in quick.
That's fair.
When I am tuning in and you make a choice, I tuned into the first choice. This actually happened in the mediumship development class that we were doing. We were doing a test like this.
Okay.
And somebody, this is a fun fact, somebody thought about telling a lie at a certain place and then didn't. And I said, oh, that was the lie. Because I felt energetically that was the lie. They're like, what's crazy is in this whole 5-minute thing that they did.
Yeah.
They almost made the one that I picked up on the lie. And last second decided not to.
That's exactly what happened.
And so that's what I picked up on.
All right. Okay, fine. You got it. You're so good. You're still good.
Okay. Your turn.
This is bullshit. I'm fucking guessing.
No, don't guess. Remember, slow your mind down. We're going to do the being present thing. Think about your breath. Think about the cars outside. Think about anything else and let the information come up.
Okay. All right. Okay? Here we go.
So close your eyes nice and tight.
It hurts. I'm not going to keep it like that. I'm just going to look this way.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep, I'm done.
Okay. Left.
No.
Fuck.
So what happened in your mind when you did that?
It said right.
Why didn't you listen to it? You did the exercise. You slowed your mind down, and the thing came up for you. Listen to it.
Because it was, I don't know.
Okay.
Stupid.
We're going to try again, and I want you to do that same thing that you just did, but listen this time.
All right, fine.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
No.
That was just, I don't know. I can't do it.
Yes, you can. Don't say I can't. I'm currently
I'm currently
having an issue.
I'm currently sucking right now. That's what's happening.
Here, what you're going to do. We're not going to do it again.
Good.
But what you're going to do is you're going to keep doing your meditations. It's only been 1 week of you doing your meditations, and it hasn't been every day.
You're right.
So you're still getting used to the act of slowing the mind down.
Right.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Well, as you can see, we're not just bullshitting.
Okay, let's get this
because I don't want to not get it right, to be honest.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We upload this podcast every week.
You can find out updates about the podcast on all social media platforms at I'm Psychic, I guess.
And on those platforms, we post updates about the podcast as well as our day-to-day adventures with psychic stuff. I'm a little behind on that, but
it's okay.
It's okay. It does still happen.
You can follow our personal accounts at the DOOTLEZ.
Yep, that's at the Doodles at the DOOTLEZ, and that's just us being doots and messing around. Okay, we will see you guys next week.
Let us know down below what you would like us to speak about.
Yeah, if you guys have anything you want us to talk about, let us know. Well, if you're on the podcast, there is no down below. Go to YouTube or hit us up on TikTok. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.